The Trek Geeks Podcast Network is proud to have Fansets as its presenting sponsor. Fansets is the place for amazing pin collectibles with over 300 officially licensed Star Trek pins and new releases every month. Stay tuned for a special discount code good on your next order at fansets.com just for Discovering Trek listeners. Fansets, our pins have character.
Well, hello, Discovering Trek listeners. Kasey and Sara here, and this is Discovering Trek Enterprise. Welcome to the First Frontier. The two of us here are breaking down another episode of Enterprise. This is the first full series watch through for me, and it's a rewatch for Kasey. Good on you, buddy. Today we are ripping to shreds episode 9, Civilization. This episode traveled over the airways into your TV unit about 20 years ago on November 14th, 2001. If you haven't watched this episode, I'm not sure what to tell you right now. Y'all had time to do it, so don't be mad or whatever about spoilers. Just move on. Watch it. You know where to find it. I'm not going to list all the places. That's it. We hope you have enjoyed our non-warning spoiler warning.
Warning. Oh, man. Well, hey, everybody, before we discuss Civilization, we want to hear from our listeners about their thoughts on everything Enterprise, and I mean everything. So, how can you get in touch with us for your thoughts on this first season of Star Trek Enterprise?
Oh my gosh. If you're looking to communicate with us, there's so many ways you can do that. There's trekgeeks.com/contact, and there's Twitter and Facebook and ICQ and Yammer. All you have to do is search for Discovering Trek. Heck, if you want to send a raven, go for it. I don't know how far it's going to make it for some of these places, but no offense, ravens. We welcome all your questions and comments. You can also leave us a voicemail. Yikes. I don't know how I feel about that. No. You can also leave us a voicemail by visiting our website at trekgeeks.com and click on that big blue button. Remember, though, any comments you leave might be used in a future episode of Discovering Trek.
Woo! All right.
Hi.
So we're gonna get right into it with the pie. So last time you went savory, which, my friend, sounded really good. But I couldn't top that for this one. So okay. I went right back with an old standby, and it's just Dutch apple pie.
Okay.
With sharp cheddar on top. And what, my friend Sara, what are you thinking for your slices of pie this week? For
two kind of cold, not really tasty, little stale pieces of pie. Yeah. This episode sucked. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm a tad bit over on that. I was between 2 and 2.5 slices.
Okay. Just
because I was like, well, okay. But this episode felt very and fell flat for me.
It fell flat. That's a great way to look at it.
But it doesn't fall flat?
My rhymes?
Your most awesome rhyming!
Buster Rhymes up in here, people! Wah, 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 wah. All right, here we go. The captain wants an update. He's looking for a gem. We've found several things, including a planet class M. The group is excited. There's giggles and cheer. Let's get down there and look. We haven't a fear. T'Pol doesn't like it. We should only just watch. But we can make ourselves look like them with the help of Doc Phlox. Before they go down, they get something strange. Some readings of neutrino emissions not far out of range. Before all go down in clothes and fun cloaks, they try to blend in with the alien folks. The episode is bland. I'm not into it much. I assume someone's bad, and that's just my hunch. A woman spots Archer. She wants to know stuff. He stands in the sunshine trying to look buff. She says folks are sick, some even dying. The guy in the shop is an alien spying. He says he's all good, but we know he's bad. An alien ship is near and getting real mad. Again, I lost focus. Folks think Archer's dead? I'm really quite tired. I should just go to bed. But the episode ends and the planet is fine. My apologies for not giving this episode more time.
Wow. That was fantastic.
There's a little reality thrown into that one about just like, I lost focus. I'm not paying attention. I don't know what happened. Someone thinks that's how this episode captured me. And I wanted to convey that in my rhyme.
Well, that's what it should be. These are, honest assessments of what our thinking is. Yeah. And so, absolutely.
All right. I'm going to hit that beaming, like, transporter just beamed us in for some transporter thoughts.
Ooh, I like that. So, thoughts on this episode. I hear you with the keeping one's this very formula for me.
I feel like I've seen this episode 100 times.
Yeah, and that was where
this is Insurrection.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
I mean, this is scale, so many, right? That story of a nice planet with nice people doing nice things, and we're going to hide and help them because someone's doing something bad. It's very... bleh.
Yeah, been there, done that.
You got to have some pretty outstanding either comedy or action to stand out with a plot of this type, in my opinion.
I hear you. I mean, and the Riian character is like the saving grace for me because she is strong enough that no matter what Archer, stay here. Don't do this. Do whatever. She's like, I'm going to do whatever the heck I want because I'm smart. I'm a scientist, and I know you're full of BS. I know you're lying to me left and right. She basically in that little, foresty firefight kind of saves Archer.
Yeah, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, she puts herself out there a little bit of a target for alien person, and the aliens here. Okay, wouldn't this maybe have been a cool opportunity for the aliens to be Xindi and come back onto that? Because I kept thinking about it. I'm like, okay, there's this, alien species that supposedly has some connection to, TOS, I think a long time later in just a mention of being killed by Nomad, I believe. And, and the Apothecary, I'm sorry. Every time that came up, I just thought of David Rose.
Yeah, it was. I like seeing people leave the ship and out of uniform. I always enjoy that. I enjoy that element of oh, look at Paul's got hair and she's hiding her ears, and they're trying to, it's an awkward thing for them because they're so used to being in uniform and being a certain way. So I always enjoy the episodes where they're getting to kind of explore different personalities and parts of themselves. But this was, I'm so sorry, Scott Bakula. I'm so sorry, Archer, but the kiss fell flat and you're not that charming and you weren't that, this is supposed to be his episode for him to carry, and he didn't carry it. And so, I mean, no big deal.
I found this information, which because I also thought, a lot of acting in here fell flat. And this episode was in production on the Tuesday of September 11th, 2001.
Oh my God.
So,
oh, okay. Yeah. So hard to be at work when that's happening.
Right. So hard to be at work.
That makes a lot of sense.
They let him go for the day, but then brought him back in the day after to continue working. And Mike Sussman, and this is in the Blu-ray stuff, states that, he can't watch the episode as he can see in the footage all the enthusiasm and the light from the actors' eyes just go out. There's nothing there.
Well,
so bummed.
That makes so much sense because we've watched this is what, episode 10 now? We've watched 10 episodes. Some are great, some are not great, but it was never because of this reason. There was always almost overacting in some cases, or to say that this is to describe it as it's flat and there's no spark would be the best way to describe it. And then to hear that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would not, I can't even, I'm shocked to think that they even would ask them to come in the next day.
Money talks.
Well, it's true. And that's an eye opener.
Isn't it?
So, that gives me mad respect for them for then even just being able to get through it. Like I take back what I say about Scott Bakula's acting, because this is the first time I've seen him where it's been this flat. Usually he's just kind of annoying in his annoying kind of quirky character written way. Wow. I'm really glad you found that information, because it just sheds a whole new light on the episode. It really does.
I hear you. I didn't know about this until I had watched the episode once and then went and found this information and then watched it again. And it didn't change my disappointment in the episode. But then I go, I get it. This is where, you know what, your mind is somewhere else. Your thoughts are somewhere else. The deep emotions that actors have to get themselves into to be able to do it. So they're like, if you just can't get to that well at that particular time, and you're being forced to do the work, to do the gig, hey,
you know what?
It's what you get.
It makes me want to change up to clarify. I give this episode writing 2.5 slices of pie, and I give the acting a 6, because the fact that they were able to show up and do their job under such horrible circumstances says a lot. So there you go. I hear you. This almost reminds me of like the quote unquote rumors of Harrison Ford. Basically, it was either the second or third time for the voiceover for Blade Runner where he was not having it. And contractually he had to do it, but gave allegedly a very flat performance, hoping it wouldn't be used. And I could see things going on where if you like, guys, are we really gonna just keep doing this? And then if you're putting in a 13, 14, 15 hour day on a TV show and then getting tired, congrats to the actors for doing the best they possibly could in a really cruddy situation. Absolutely. All right. We've been beamed.
We've been beamed. But hey, Discovering Trek listeners, right now, we're taking a bit of time to thank our friends over at Fansets for being the exclusive sponsor on Discovering Trek. The Fansets peeps are always working to put out the best product available and continue to surprise us with new designs and product releases. There are more great products out right now. There's the Women of Trek pins from all the series, including super cool Doomsday Machine pin. I dig that pin. Picard, episode pins, deltas, just a ton of stuff, and a lot of non-Trek stuff like Scooby-Doo, Batman 66, DC Bombshells, and Ultraman. In fact, like last week, I bought the Pinfolio Pro Fansets pin case because I was like, where am I going to put all this stuff so I can show it and have it and see it instead of a stupid cardboard box over in the corner there.
Nice.
But man, there are tons of pins and accessories for you at fansets.com. So how about right after listening to our melodic voices, go directly to Fansets, because our voices are sent from heaven and maybe some pins will be sent from heaven too. No, they're sent from some other place in the US. But hey, load up your cart, enter the special code word in all caps, Discovering Trek, no spaces, and get an amazing 10% off your entire order. And remember, people, if you're in the US and you spend more than $30, you'll also get free shipping.
Fansets. Our pins have character. And we thank our friends at Fansets for being the presenting sponsor of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
All right. As someone in a whole different movie tentpole situation said, listen, do you smell something? And I'm smelling Chef's Special of the day.
Painful.
It is. Hey.
We just lost two listeners.
We're down to one.
Oh, gosh. Thanks, Dad.
Thinking about this episode and everything going on. So basically, I mean, this is technically episode 9, but 10 with the 2-parter pilot. So we're almost halfway through the first season. And I things finally hit me of why I'm not particularly fond of the first season of Enterprise. And it's that the episodes are episodic. And it's almost, if you don't see them in a particular order, it almost doesn't matter, because to me, there's so little character development going on or arcs happening. I mean, the Zindi, we see him at the very beginning and then like nothing for a big chunk of time. So I mean, that one finally hit me. It's like, God, we had those deep, awesome mini arcs, big arcs, entire things with DS9. And I keep going back to that in my head. That's the storytelling that I prefer, where things actually build and have importance, and that we see progress going on throughout the storyline and the characters, and that episodes aren't interchangeable. I mean, we need consequences for things, good and or bad, of what's happening. I mean, right now are the Klingons using that holodeck technology to plot, against Starfleet? Nothing. And you don't need these callbacks right away. But for me, it just kept coming back to stuff is so interchangeable that some of these, for me, they don't matter. It don't matter what order you watch them in.
Yeah, I don't mind episodic if it's done well and they fully admit and embrace the fact that they're episodic, but this is like they're trying to do both. Like it doesn't seem to work for some reason in some episodes. I think it would have been so cool if they had done this series where the first half of the episode is about Archer and his team and whatever they're into, but then you're getting part of the episode or whole standalone episodes that are, this is the Vulcan episode, and it's them talking about what Archer and his crew are up to, and then it's the Klingons talking about who are these humans that we're meeting, and wouldn't that have been a really cool way to have gained some perspective about other species and the way they have a daily life or a look at things? Is because that's the big whole Star Trek universe, is that there's Starfleet and humans they've done so well and they've created this community of all these species, and aren't we great and everyone likes us. But when they first came out, nobody knew them from anything and had opinions of them. So I would love to have known a bit more about remember that time we met that Archer guy and those humans? What's the deal with them? Should we go check out this Earth place? Is this something we should be scared of? And that'd been a really cool way to have done this series, is to have had standalone episodes that didn't even involve Archer and them, but it was those Klingons that we've met or those Vulcans that we keep spotting and them plotting, we're going to spy on them. Give it that depth.
I hear
you root for Archer,
Do you think they didn't do that because they had just spent a ton of dough on the Enterprise sets? And they were going, literally, we wouldn't have a budget to do a one-off of, we have to build a full Klingon bridge or Vulcan bridge or this or that. And that they just said, budget-wise, we couldn't do that, so we can't do those kind of stories.
Yeah, I think that Enterprise is a great example of what happens when people get really tired, because it was TNG into DS9 into Voyager into Enterprise. Yeah. That's a long time and a lot of work, and I can only imagine that people just needed a break. Had they maybe waited a few years, build up a lot, let Voyager have a better finale, in my opinion, and then did this. I think it could have been great. I think there's still potential for this timeline and this type of crew to be great. I'd love to see another shot at a Enterprise era TV show with the way that we're seeing Discovery in these shows and how successful they are, and the visuals and wouldn't that be cool to see them come back with the second ship to go out?
The Columbia, and it's an X-02, you could do stuff there, or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. I hear you. I mean, reading up on certain things, there was a push for the first season to be Earth-based, where like they're building the ship, they're getting stuff going on, they're getting the crew. And boy, I think about that possibility. I go, that really would have separated you as a show from all these others where, you don't start off on the ship where we've basically all been on a ship before. And that was kind of the cool, scary thing about DS9 was like, hey, we're in one spot. People are going to have to come to us. You know, are people going to like that? Are they going to expect? But it was like ship. If
the first season had been kind of like how Picard was, where you have this mission to find the great people to be on your mission, because even with Voyager, you didn't get enough really when you think about the scene of Janeway going to go find Tom Paris and coax him into joining, and that, because I love that it builds that. Imagine if they interviewed like 4 different weird aliens to be the Doctor, and you like one of them and they don't make it to be the series regular, that it goes to Phlox, and then you meet these different people. And how do we get like a little bit more to lure Hoshi and a little bit more to pull these people? And that's the whole first season, is the ship's being built, these people are being sought, so that at that last episode of that first season, you see them on the ship ready to go, and you're like, oh, I'm so excited, we finally found our crew. It's like American Idol, you're voting people out, you're trying to figure out who's going to make it, and then you become like invested in it. That would have been really cool too.
I hear you. I think that would have been very cool. You could have had your Vulcan episode like you're talking about, and your Klingon episodes, because they could be saying, you know, spending spy missions going, oh, this is going, hey, this Earth place is now, they're getting ready to send a warp ship out. And
let's try to stop it or whatever. Like you can do anything. It's funny because
I'm the what ifs.
Yeah. And I mean, this goes to show that I'm even just talking about this, I'm getting like jacked up about it. And that means to me, I'm starting to like Enterprise, because here I am having watched not a very good episode, and I'm disappointed because I just came out of watching Breaking the Ice and I loved it. And so I'm really kind of getting involved in the show now, where I'm like, I'm so excited when I have a good episode, and then I'm so bummed when there's a bad one, but I have ideas about if they did this instead or did this. And that to me is like, all right, it's happening. Like Enterprise is creeping under my skin, and I'm getting excited about it. So
it's the emotionally involved.
Yeah, I'm emotionally involved now. Don't disappoint me, show.
Love and or hate, where it's not just whatever. Yeah. And you know, awesome. And with this kind of, as we said, episode, once again, major props to the cast and the crew for working through a really crappy time. Yeah. And I would have to think, give it their best shot that they could. Yeah. And you know, as we all know, being humans, you can give it your best shot and still just fail.
There you go.
Okay. That's how it goes. But hey, everyone, that does it on our coverage of episode 9, Civilization. We'll be back next time chatting about episode 10, Fortunate Son, as we continue to celebrate the 20th anniversary year of Enterprise. Until next time, remember that you can subscribe to Discovering Trek by searching for us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or head to discoveringtrek.com. And you know what? Our fantastic listeners, you can find us Twitter, Camp Kittemer on Facebook. Come say hello.
You know it. If you enjoy what we're doing here on Discovering Trek and the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, please consider supporting us on Patreon. As a subscriber, you can get access to the unedited recordings of episodes, as well as exclusive content and great subscriber rewards, like our annual supporters pins from Fansets and our exclusive Trek Geeks Podcast Network t-shirt, among other things. We would like to take a moment to recognize the following amazing producers of Discovering Trek. We are so thankful for their support. The producers are Mike Bovia, Chaz Bradshaw, Kyle Castillo, Peter Craig, Craig Ewing, Jackie and Chris Hackney, Kimberly Hartman, David Hood, Lionel Marchand, Matt McGonigal, Jim McMahon, Darren Metcalf, Charlie Mulvey, Sean O'Halloran, Jamie Rogers, Chris Tribuzio, Ken Tripp, Christina Werther, and Jess Vachon. The senior producer of Discovering Trek is Jude Tatman.
If you'd like to become a producer of Discovering Trek, or even get access to the raw audio for Discovering Trek episodes, come on, head over to patreon.com/TrekGeeks for all the details. And until our next Decon Chamber Jellathon, to the beam out. Icky!
Get out of here, Kasey.
Music for Discovering Trek is provided by 5 Year Mission. They're writing an original song for each episode of Star Trek. Hear more of their music at 5yearmission.net. Discovering Trek is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Coconut!